Escape from Pretoria, 1979, Tim Jenkin and Stephen Lee. Tim Jenkin was born in 1948 in Cape Town, and Stephen Lee, born in 1951 in Johannesburg, grew up during apartheid in South Africa. Both became active in the African National Congress, fighting the regime by spreading information and organizing resistance. In 1978, they were arrested for producing and distributing political pamphlets and sentenced to lengthy terms in Pretoria's maximum security prison, known for its strict security and harsh conditions. Determined to escape, Jenkin and Lee began plotting almost immediately. Over months, Jenkin secretly crafted wooden keys, carefully shaped to fit the locks of their cells and the many gates to freedom. Using smuggled materials and keen observation, he made replicas for 10 different locks, hiding the keys in everyday objects. On December 11, 1979, Jenkin, Lee, and fellow inmate Alex Mbaris put their plan into action. Quietly unlocking each door with Jenkin's handmade keys, they navigated the prison's barriers and slipped out into the streets of Pretoria. They went into hiding and eventually reached London, where they continued their anti-apartheid work. The escape embarrassed the South African government and became a symbol of resistance. While authorities called them dangerous criminals, many worldwide saw them as heroes. Their story was later adapted into the 2020 film, Escape from Pretoria. Jenkin and Lee's escape is legendary not just for its ingenuity, but for what it represented: determination and creativity in the face of oppression, a testament to the human spirit's refusal to be caged. Alfred Wetzler and Rudolf Vrba, 1944, Auschwitz. He was born 1918, and Rudolf Vrba, originally Walter Rosenberg, born in 1924, both Slovak Jews, were deported to Auschwitz in 1942, enduring starvation, forced labor, and constant danger. By early 1944, after years in the camp, they realized the Nazis were preparing to deport hundreds of thousands of Hungarian Jews. Determined to warn the world, they began planning an escape despite electrified fences, armed guards, and constant surveillance. On April 7, 1944, Wetzler and Vrba hid in a hollowed-out space beneath a woodpile near the camp's perimeter, camouflaged with boards and gasoline-soaked tobacco to fool guard dogs. For 3 days, they stayed hidden as search parties combed the area. Once the search ended, they slipped away at night, trekking 80 miles on foot through Nazi-occupied territory to Slovakia. Reaching the Slovak border after nearly 2 weeks, they contacted the Jewish underground and dictated a detailed 32-page report describing Auschwitz's layout, gas chambers, and a mass extermination of Jews. The Vrba-Wetzler report was smuggled to Allied leaders in the Vatican, providing the first concrete evidence of the Holocaust scale and helping pressure Hungary to halt Jewish deportations. While the Nazis called them fugitives, the world saw them as heroes whose courage exposed the truth and helped save tens of thousands of lives. Their escape remains one of the most significant acts of resistance during the Holocaust, a testament to the power of truth and bearing witness even in the darkest times. The Libby Prison Escape, 1864, American Civil War. The Libby Prison Escape is one of the most daring and dramatic prison breaks in American history, set against the backdrop of the Civil War. Libby Prison, located in Richmond, Virginia, was originally a tobacco warehouse, but was converted by the Confederacy into a prison for captured Union officers. By 1864, it had become notorious for its overcrowded, unsanitary conditions and harsh treatment. Prisoners faced disease, starvation, and the constant threat of death, making survival itself a daily challenge. Among the hundreds of Union officers held there, a small group began to hatch an audacious plan. Led by Colonel Thomas E. Rose of the 77th Pennsylvania Infantry, the group decided that escape was their only hope. The plan was as risky as it was ingenious. They would dig a tunnel from the prison's basement, right under the noses of their Confederate captors. The work was grueling and dangerous. Using only makeshift tools, knives, spoons, and whatever else they could find, the men dug night after night, removing dirt and hiding it in their clothes or under floorboards. The tunnel had to be dug in secret, in near-total darkness, and the risk of discovery was ever present. The men faced suffocating air, collapsing earth, and a constant fear that a single mistake could mean execution. After weeks of painstaking effort, the tunnel was finally completed in February 1864. On the night of February 9th, the escape began. One by one, 109 Union officers crawled through the narrow, claustrophobic passage, emerging outside the prison walls under the cover of darkness. The escape was chaotic. Some men got lost in the city, while others were quickly recaptured, but 59 managed to reach Union lines in freedom. The Libby prison escape was a huge embarrassment for the Confederacy and a major morale boost for the North. News of the breakout spread quickly, and the men who made it out became instant heroes. Their story was celebrated in newspapers and became a symbol of hope and resilience for Union supporters. Today, the Libby Prison escape stands as a testament to human ingenuity, courage, and the unbreakable will to be free, even in the darkest of times. It remains one of the largest and most successful prison breaks in American history, and a powerful reminder of the extraordinary lengths people will go to for liberty. Pascal Payet's helicopter escapes, 2001, 2003, 2007. Pascal Payet, born in 1963 in Marseille, France, grew up surrounded by crime and was deeply involved in organized crime by the late 1990s. In 1997, he was arrested and convicted for a deadly armored car robbery, landing him in one of France's most secure prisons. Payet soon became infamous for his daring, cinematic escapes. His first escape came in 2001, when accomplices hijacked a helicopter and forced it to land in Luynes prison's yard. In minutes, Payet was flown to freedom, stunning authorities and making national headlines. In 2003, while still on the run, he organized another helicopter escape to free 3 fellow inmates from the same prison. The French government was embarrassed, and prison security was tightened. Payet was eventually recaptured, but his legend grew. Incredibly, in 2007, Payet escaped again, his third helicopter break. Despite extra precautions at Grasse prison, his associates hijacked a helicopter, landed it on the roof, and extracted Payet in broad daylight. The escape took less than 5 minutes. He was recaptured after a massive manhunt, but by then he was known as France's king of escapes. Public reaction was a mix of shock, disbelief, and grudging admiration for his audacity. While authorities saw him as a dangerous criminal, some viewed his escapes as a challenge to the system. Payet's helicopter escapes forced a complete overhaul of French prison security and inspired books, documentaries, and fiction. His story remains one of the most spectacular and daring prison breaks in modern history. The Texas 7, 2000. The Texas 7's 2000 prison break is one of the most notorious in modern American history, a story of desperation, violence, and a nationwide manhunt. The group originated at the John B. Connolly Unit, a maximum security prison in Texas, where 7 inmates, Joseph Garcia, Randy Halperin, Larry Harper, Patrick Murphy, Donald Newberry, George Rivas, and Michael Rodriguez, were serving long sentences for violent crimes like murder, robbery, and assault. Led by George Rivas, the group meticulously planned their escape. On December 13, 2000, they overpowered guards and civilian workers using deception, teamwork, and force. They stole uniforms, broke into the armory for weapons, and used a maintenance truck to drive out, blending in with staff and escaping before anyone noticed. Once free, the Texas 7 went on a crime spree, robbing stores and banks. On Christmas Eve, during a robbery at an Oshman's sporting goods store in Irving, Texas, they shot and killed police officer Aubrey Hawkins, a tragedy that shocked the nation and intensified the manhunt. Their escape and crimes dominated headlines, prompting a massive law enforcement response. After more than a month on the run and a feature on America's Most Wanted, the group was found in Colorado in January 2001. Larry Harper took his own life rather than be captured. The other 6 were arrested and returned to Texas. Public reaction was a mix of fear, outrage, and fascination. The escape exposed major flaws in prison security and led to sweeping reforms in Texas corrections. All surviving members were convicted of capital murder for Officer Hawkins' death and sentenced to death, with several already executed. The Texas 7's escape remains a chilling reminder of what can happen when desperation, planning, and opportunity collide, one of the most infamous and deadly prison breaks in American history. The Maze Prison Escape, 1983, Northern Ireland. It's also known as the Great Escape, is the largest prison break in British history and a defining moment of the Troubles in Northern Ireland. The Maze, officially Her Majesty's Prison Maze near Belfast, was a high-security facility built to hold some of the UK's most dangerous prisoners, many from paramilitary groups like the IRA. By 1983, tensions were high inside the Maze, known for strict security and determined inmates. Among them were 38 IRA prisoners, all serving long sentences for crimes like bombings and murder, who saw themselves as soldiers determined to escape. On September 25, 1983, after months of planning, the escape began. The prisoners had smuggled in guns and knives, and at 2:30 p.m., they overpowered guards in H Block 7, took control, and held several staff hostage. Disguised in stolen uniforms and armed, they forced a food delivery truck to drive them out the main gate. The breakout was chaotic and violent. One prison officer died of a heart attack, and several others were stabbed or shot, though none fatally. The escapees scattered, triggering one of the largest manhunts in UK history. Half were recaptured within days, but 19 evaded authorities for weeks, months, or even years, some never found. The May's escape was a huge embarrassment for the British government and a propaganda victory for the IRA. It exposed major flaws in prison security and led to changes in managing high-risk prisoners. Public reaction was divided. Many nationalists saw the escapees as heroes, while others saw it as a sign of ongoing conflict. Today, the May's prison escape remains a symbol of both ingenuity and desperation during the Troubles, its legacy still echoing as one of the most infamous prison breaks ever. John Dillinger's wooden gun escape, 1934. He's one of the most legendary figures in American crime. A bank robber whose daring exploits during the Great Depression made him both a public enemy and a folk hero. Born in 1903 in Indianapolis, Dillinger grew up in a working-class family and quickly turned to crime. By the early 1930s, he led a gang responsible for a string of high-profile bank robberies across the Midwest, often outsmarting police and the FBI. In January 1934, Dillinger was captured and sent to the supposedly escape-proof Lake County Jail in Crown Point, Indiana. Authorities were so confident in their security that they let reporters photograph Dillinger behind bars, boasting he would never escape. But Dillinger had other plans. Using a piece of wood, possibly from a washboard or cell bunk, he carved a fake pistol and blackened it with shoe polish. On March 3, 1934, he used a wooden gun to bluff his way out, convincing guards and the sheriff he was armed. He locked up over a dozen jail employees, took 2 real pistols from the warden's office, and stole the sheriff's car, driving out the front gate. The escape was a national sensation, with newspapers highlighting Dillinger's audacity and the embarrassment of law enforcement. The FBI, already under pressure, was furious. Dillinger's escape cemented his reputation as America's most wanted outlaw. Public reaction was mixed. Some feared his criminal activities, while others admired his boldness and ability to outwit the system, especially during a time of widespread distrust in banks and government. His escape became a symbol of rebellion and ingenuity, inspiring books, movies, and songs. Dillinger's freedom was short-lived. He was killed by federal agents a few months later, but his wooden gun escape remains one of history's most famous prison breaks, showcasing his daring, creativity, and larger-than-life persona. Richard Matt and David Sweat, 2015. Clinton Correctional Facility, New York. The escape of Richard Matt and David Sweat from Clinton Correctional Facility in 2015 is one of the most sensational and cinematic prison breaks in recent American history. Both men were serving life sentences for murder. Matt, known for his manipulative charm and violent past, and Sweat, a quieter inmate with a reputation for intelligence and patience. Clinton Correctional in Dannemora, New York, was considered one of the state's most secure prisons, with massive stone walls and strict security. Determined to escape, Matt and Sweat spent months planning, aided by Joyce Mitchell, a civilian worker in the prison's sewing shop. They manipulated her into smuggling in tools like hacksaw blades and chisels, hidden in frozen hamburger meat. Using these, they painstakingly cut through the steel walls at the back of their cells. Night after night, they secretly worked, navigating the prison's tunnels, steam pipes, and locked grates with makeshift lights and tools. To avoid detection, they placed dummies in their beds during nightly checks. On June 6, 2015, after weeks of preparation, they crawled through the holes in their cells, maneuvered through the tunnels, and emerged from a manhole cover outside the prison walls. Their escape triggered a massive manhunt, with hundreds of officers, helicopters, and search dogs combing the forests of upstate New York. The nation was captivated by daily updates and speculation. For 3 weeks, Matt and Sweat evaded capture, surviving in the wilderness and breaking into cabins for supplies. The manhunt ended when Matt was shot and killed by police, and Sweat was captured 2 days later near the Canadian border. The escape exposed major flaws in prison security and led to reforms in New York's correctional system. Public reaction was a mix of fear, fascination, and disbelief. Many compared it to the Shawshank Redemption, but with a darker ending. The case inspired books, documentaries, and a TV miniseries, cementing its place as one of the most infamous modern prison breaks. Ted Bundy's escapes, 1977. Ted Bundy is one of America's most infamous serial killers, but he also pulled off 2 of the most daring prison escapes by a high-profile inmate. Born in 1946 in Burlington, Vermont, Bundy appeared charming and intelligent, even studying law, while secretly leading a violent double life. By the mid-1970s, he was arrested and linked to a string of brutal murders across several states. His first escape was in June 1977, while awaiting trial in Aspen, Colorado. Allowed to use the law library, Bundy exploited lax security, jumped from a second-story window, and vanished into the mountains. He evaded a massive manhunt for 6 days, surviving on stolen food before being recaptured, an embarrassment for local authorities. Just 6 months later, in December 1977, Bundy escaped again from Garfield County Jail. After months of preparation, he lost weight and secretly sawed a hole in his cell's ceiling, hiding it with books and papers. On December 30th, he squeezed through, crawled into the jailer's apartment, and walked out the front door. This time, Bundy was on the run for weeks, traveling to Florida, where he committed some of his most notorious crimes, including the Chi Omega sorority house attacks at Florida State University. Bundy's escapes shocked the nation and exposed serious flaws in the prison system. The public was horrified, not just by his crimes, but by his ability to outsmart law enforcement twice. His cunning became a chilling part of his legend. Bundy was recaptured in February 1978 and executed in 1989, but his escapes remain a haunting reminder of how even the most dangerous criminals can slip through the cracks, a cautionary tale about underestimating cunning and determination. The Great Escape, 1944, Stalag Luft III. The Great Escape from Stalag Luft III in 1944 is one of history's most legendary prison breaks, a true story of ingenuity, courage, and sacrifice during World War II. Stalag Luft III, a German POW camp in what is now Poland, was built to hold captured Allied airmen and considered escape-proof, with elevated barracks, sandy soil, and seismograph microphones to detect tunneling. For the prisoners, however, escape was a duty. Led by squadron leader Roger Bushell, known as Big X, Allied officers devised an audacious plan to dig 3 tunnels, Tom, Dick, and Harry, beneath the camp's fences. Over 600 prisoners participated, handling everything from digging and sand disposal to forging documents and sewing civilian clothes. They used bed boards to shore up tunnels, tin cans for air ducts, and even built a makeshift railway to move dirt. After months of work, the escape was set for March 24, 1944. The goal was to get 200 men out, but the tunnel Harry fell short of the forest, forcing escapees to crawl out in view of guards. Still, 76 men managed to escape before the breakout was discovered. The aftermath was both heroic and tragic. Most escapees were recaptured, and in retaliation, 50 were executed on Hitler's orders, a war crime that shocked the world. Only 3 men, 2 Norwegians and 1 Dutchman, made it to freedom. The Great Escape became a symbol of Allied resilience and defiance, inspiring people worldwide and immortalized in books and the classic 1963 film. It exposed the extraordinary lengths prisoners would go for freedom and the risks they took for their comrades. Today, it stands as a testament to teamwork, ingenuity, and the unbreakable human spirit, remaining one of the most famous and daring prison breaks ever attempted. El Chapo's Tunnel Escape, 2015. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, head of Mexico's Sinaloa cartel, is one of the most notorious drug lords in modern history. Born in 1957 in rural poverty, he rose to become a billionaire kingpin, smuggling massive amounts of drugs into the U.S. and orchestrating violence across Mexico. By 2015, he was infamous for previous escapes and his ability to evade law enforcement, but his next prison break would stun the world. Captured in February 2014, El Chapo was sent to Altiplano, Mexico's most secure prison. Authorities claimed escape was impossible, but over more than a year, his associates masterminded an audacious plan. On July 11, 2015, El Chapo vanished from his cell, slipping into a hole beneath the shower floor. This led to a mile-long tunnel, 30 feet underground, equipped with lighting, ventilation, and a modified motorcycle on rails. By the time his escape was discovered, El Chapo had already emerged at a construction site outside the prison and was whisked away by his associates. The escape was a massive embarrassment for the Mexican government, exposing deep corruption and security failures, and sparking a global manhunt involving both Mexican and U.S. authorities. Public reaction ranged from disbelief and outrage to a strange admiration for the escape's scale and ingenuity. For many, it seemed like a Hollywood movie, but the consequences were real. El Chapo remained on the run for 6 months before being recaptured in early 2016. The tunnel escape cemented El Chapo's reputation as a criminal mastermind and highlighted the challenges of fighting organized crime in Mexico. It remains one of the most daring and elaborate prison breaks in history, continuing to fascinate and shock people worldwide. Alcatraz Escape, 1962, Frank Morris and the Anglin Brothers. The 1962 escape from Alcatraz is perhaps the most legendary prison break in American history, still shrouded in mystery today. Alcatraz, on an island in San Francisco Bay, was considered escape-proof, with icy waters, strong currents, and vigilant guards. Frank Morris, born in 1926 and known for his intelligence and prior escapes, arrived at Alcatraz in 1960. There, he met brothers John and Clarence Anglin, experienced bank robbers from Georgia. Together, they devised a plan that would test the limits of ingenuity and determination. Over months, Morris and the Anglins secretly dug through their cell walls using makeshift tools like spoons and a drill made from a vacuum cleaner motor. They concealed their work with cardboard and paint and created a hidden workshop behind their cells. There, they built a raft and life vest from over 50 stolen raincoats. On June 11th, 1962, they put their plan into action, slipping through the holes in their cell walls, climbing a utility corridor, reaching the roof, and launching their homemade raft into the frigid bay. By morning, guards discovered they were gone. A massive manhunt followed, but no trace of Morris or the Anglins was ever found. The FBI concluded they likely drowned, but rumors, alleged sightings, and even letters have kept the mystery alive, with some believing they survived and started new lives in South America. The Alcatraz escape became a symbol of hope and defiance, inspiring books, documentaries, and the film Escape from Alcatraz. It led to major changes in prison security nationwide. To this day, the fate of Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers remains one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries, a testament to determination and the enduring allure of the impossible escape.